Every time you read a passage in the Bible, there is always that thing that keep coming to you as you keep reading it. And this time I found myself having this, as I prepared the homily for this weekend, something kept hitting me very hard. I don't know why this time. I don't like watching a lot of war things. I don't like them. I like movies when people are fighting, but I don't like fighting in real life. But as long as it's a movie, I can watch, they can kill each other the way they want. Because in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's just a movie, you know? But I really don't like the real life, like what's happening. But this time I find myself watching a lot of what is happening in Gaza. I don't know why. So as I prepared my homily, I could not help but think of what is happening in the world today. And I asked myself, if I was sent to preach to the people in Palestine today, what will I tell them? What about the families that had their loved ones kidnapped? What would I tell them? What about the refugees in our borders seeking for refuge? What would I tell them? What about the young people from North and West Africa trying to cross the Dead Sea to Europe in search of greener pasture? What about them? What would be my message to these people? But because I don't like looking at things from one perspective, I also try to look at it from the other perspective. Let us look at it the other way around. What if I was called to preach to the leaders responsible or in the middle of all this? What about them? What would be my message to these people? It's not as easy as I'm saying it. You can try to put yourself in such a situation. Today's readings from Isaiah is taken from a section of his writing that we call the Book of Consolation. And it begins by saying, comfort, give comfort to my people. This is a complete departure from the happenings in the world. It's a message of assurance and consolation. The Israelites had lost hope and confidence in God's care and concern. It appeared to them like God had abandoned them. And this is sometimes what happens when we move away from God. It's very difficult for us, or it's very easy for us to fall into this kind of slavery and cause our own unhappiness. On the other part, we are also being reminded to prepare the way for the Lord. The Lord comes to free us from slavery of our passion, the slavery of our hard feelings. All of us, including me, we have our mountains and we have our valleys in our lives. And sometimes we know them. How would we prepare our way? The Lord is announcing very well from the prophecy, prepare your ways. Level the mountains and the valleys of your lives. How would we do this? We can only do this if we are ready to prepare our roads. One question I would like to ask is that, why did John the Baptist preach the baptism of conversion for forgiveness of sins? If you look very well in the thinking of the Israelites of the time, the coming of Messiah was delayed twice. The first one was when John the Baptist came. The rabbis thought that the Messiah they were waiting for delayed because of the sins of the Israelites, because they had sinned. That's why the Messiah was delaying. And this is the background. John the Baptist is coming, where he's telling the people, prepare the way for the coming of the Messiah. John the Baptist asked the people to change their lives, to allow the Messiah to manifest himself, so that, and also to begin his reign. Everybody felt that because the Israelites were not doing, maybe they were not doing what is supposed to be done. That was one way that they felt that the Messiah delayed. The early Christians also were under the impression that the Lord will return shortly. After waiting for a decade, they began to question the delay, and others started to doubt the truth of the promises. Paradoxically, 2,000 years later, when I talk of 2,000 years later, then I'm talking about ourselves. Hello? Yes, 2,000 years later, some of us are caught up on this way of measuring time. They knew that they were told that Christ will return shortly. But the question is, how shortly is shortly? I don't know whether you are getting what I'm trying to say. How soon is soon? If somebody tells you I'm coming soon and it stays for a year, is this soon for you? You know, the way we measure time, that is what takes away our patience. Sometimes we pray, we go to pray, we pray, God help me. Because you want an instant answer to that prayer. If it delays, you start doubting whether the heavens is open for you, you know. Temptation of losing hope, whether he is still in charge. The way God measures time is different from the way we measure time. And I would like you to consider time in the presence of God. God says that, they say that one day or 1 hour, that is why on Sunday we only come here for 1 hour. 1 hour in the presence of God is worth 1,000 days elsewhere. So when you pray, just know that your prayers will be answered soon. But that is soon depends with how God counts time. It may not be soon according to you, but your prayer will always be answered. And one of the things I say that you may pray for something good, but it may not come to you, but it come to your generation. That means the prayer was answered. You may pray for something in your family, and that prayer of you has helped your brother who has been troubling with the same thing. That's also an answer to your prayer. That's why I'm saying the way God looks at things is different. So today my plea to all of us is that let us level our mountains and fill our valleys. But the question is, what are our mountains and valleys in our lives? In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.